stretching down South America's eastern coast from the humid tropical reaches of northeastern Brazil to the cooler temperate latitudes of the far south, lies one of the oldest, most intricate and biodiverse forest systems on Earth. This isn't just one single unbroken woodland. Rather, it is a vast mosaic of interconnected landscapes carved out by rugged terrains, heavy humidity, and millions of years of evolutionary history. Welcome to the GXB-Nature, a place where life is governed by unseen rules. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to GXB-Nature, and turn on notifications to support us. Where are you watching us from? Let us know in the comments below. Without further ado, let's dive right in. In this place, life doesn't follow a simple design. Every layer of the forest weaves a delicate ancient web between plants and animals, forming a dense and deeply interconnected biological network. From the damp, muddy floor, where large mammals leave their tracks, all the way up to the high canopy, where primates and birds rule the three-dimensional space. Each level plays its own distinct part. No species can survive entirely on its own. Survival here demands constant adaptation, making the most of every inch of space and maintaining a delicate balance that resets with each passing day. This coastal forest system is widely recognized as one of the most critical biodiversity hotspots in the Southern Hemisphere. Within a relatively small area, more than 20,000 plant species have been recorded alongside thousands of vertebrates and countless invertebrates, most of which have yet to be fully documented by science. Its rate of endemism is among the highest on the planet, with many species restricted to incredibly small habitats found nowhere else on Earth. It is a vital sanctuary for the primates that rule the canopy. Huge mammals slip quietly along river corridors, herds on the forest floor keep up a steady pulsing rhythm, and birds tie land water and sky together with short, persistent flights. Every single creature claims only a tiny fraction of this environment, yet together they run a highly precise system where losing just one link can alter the entire structure. This wilderness is far from uniform. Pockets of dense jungle open woodlands, seasonal forests, riverbanks and mangroves blend together, creating countless unique microenvironments. Over millions of years of evolution, this natural diversity and fragmentation have driven an incredible level of specialization. Many species can only survive under highly specific conditions, closely tied to the height of the canopy, the structure of the surrounding foliage, and the presence of neighboring species. In this rich world, abundance does not mean life is easy. Light, food, and shelter are constantly fought over. To survive, creatures have developed highly sophisticated strategies. Moving gracefully through three-dimensional space, communicating by sound through the dense undergrowth, organizing tight-knit communities, and mapping out territories with extreme accuracy. Every behavior we see is a direct response to the strict boundaries set by their environment. This isn't just a haven for wildlife. It's a living, breathing system that constantly balances itself. When a tree falls, it opens up a brand new clearing. A passing animal carries seeds far across the canopy boundaries. A call echoing through the valley can change how this space is used for days to come. Every single movement, no matter how tiny, leaves its mark. This is an ancient, dense, and highly specialized realm, where evolutionary history is still written in every detail. A place where life thrives not by excess, but by sheer precision. Sweeping down South America's eastern shoreline, a belt of ancient forest reaches from the tropical north to the cooler temperate regions of the south. Along this massive stretch of thousands of miles, life shifts with every step you take. In the lowlands near the sea, water birds forage in marshes and estuaries, while further inland troops of capuchin monkeys navigate the mid-canopy with ease, following familiar tree paths passed down through generations. The original expanse of this ecosystem is estimated to have covered around 1,300,000 square kilometers, making it one of the largest coastal forest belts ever known. Within Brazil, this forest blanket once ran almost uninterrupted from the northeast to the far south of the country, stretching inland across coastal mountain ranges, high plateaus, and deep valley systems. These natural corridors are where the South American tapir slips quietly along waterways, leaving large tracks in the damp mud as it moves between distant pockets of forest. This geographic space is organized into clear, distinct layers. Coastal mountain ranges like the Serra do Mar and the Serra da Mantiqueira stand like massive natural walls, lifting the forest from sea level up to nearly 2,900 meters at their highest peaks. On the steep slopes, mist rolls slowly through the canopy, blanketing cloud forests where tiny birds and insects stay busy in the soft, diffused light. Down below, narrow valleys and deep creeks form cool, damp corridors where herds of peccaries roam, rooting through the leaf litter in search of food. In the lower, flatter regions, the landscape opens up into floodplains, seasonal wetlands, and coastal ecosystems. Here, the movement of life becomes much clearer. Waterbirds gather according to the tide, while semi-aquatic mammals appear along the riverbanks at dusk. These areas are also frequently patrolled by the jaguar, which uses the water's edge to reach prey and slips silently through its vast territory. The range of this forest system isn't limited to Brazil. It also extends into eastern Paraguay and northeastern Argentina, maintaining biological continuity across the region. Along that strip of land, states like Bahia, Espírito Santo, Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, Paraná, and Santa Catarina contain many of the remaining forests, which have a complex structure, where animals must adapt to rapid transitions between dense jungle mountain slopes and open spaces. Nearby, the climate here is heavily influenced by the ocean. The average annual temperature ranges from about 14 degrees Celsius in the highlands to nearly 28 degrees Celsius in the low-lying coastal areas. In just a few kilometers, the change in altitude can create clear differences in temperature, humidity, and wind. This forces primates, ungulates, and predators to adjust their active hours, choose different shelters, and even alter their travel routes depending on the elevation. High rainfall and its relatively even distribution throughout the year are key to sustaining life. In many hillside and coastal areas, annual rainfall exceeds 2,000 millimeters. Moisture from the ocean is blocked by the mountain ranges, condensing and falling as heavy rain fog and drizzle. This continuous flow of water nourishes the rainforest and keeps the rivers from drying up, allowing water-dependent species to stay active all year round. In the highlands, low clouds frequently blanket the canopy, creating characteristic cloud forests. The dim light and near-saturated humidity cause vegetation to grow slowly, but incredibly dense. In this space, animal movement is usually slower and more discreet, relying more on sound and smell than sight, against this backdrop of diverse climate and terrain. The vegetation has evolved into many different forms, from evergreen rainforest to seasonal forest, riverine forest, restinga forest, coastal sand dunes, and mangroves. Massive trees, lianas, ferns, orchids, and bromeliads occupy every layer of space, creating a continuous green labyrinth where every animal species must find its own way to survive. All of these factors impose strict limits on the wildlife. Finding food shelter and navigating the landscape depend on the ability to read the environment with precision and use the territory efficiently. Here, geography and climate don't just set the stage, they directly guide every strategy for survival. Through the continuous canopies and closed valleys of the GXB-Nature, deep, resonant, and prolonged sounds echo through the humid air. It isn't the sound of the wind or distant thunder, but the signal of a primate species that has turned sound into a tool for survival. In the upper layers of the forest, the howler monkey maintains its dominance through its roar, controlling the space without ever needing to show its face. In the GXB-Nature, 3 species of howler monkey share the forest canopy, each occupying different territorial ranges and exploiting resources in distinct ways. Their distribution range extends from the south of Bahia State to northern Argentina, always closely tied to patches of the GXB-Nature that are large and continuous enough. The red howler monkey is found mainly in southern and southeastern Brazil, inhabiting dense tropical rainforests and mountainous areas from approximately 200 down to 100 meters in elevation. The black howler monkey dominates more open inland areas and transition zones, including seasonal and riverine forests. Meanwhile, the brown howler monkey is concentrated in the northeast, living in patches of humid forest at low to medium altitudes. These species are medium-sized, weighing from 4 to 9 kilograms, and exhibit moderate sexual dimorphism. Their bodies are robust, built for slow but stable movement along thick, high branches. Their most important feature is the prehensile tail, strong enough to support their entire body weight. Thanks to this, the monkey can hang securely while feeding in the highest parts of the canopy, where tender leaf soft shoots and seasonal fruits make up its primary food source. A leaf-based diet requires a highly specialized digestive system. The digestion process is slow, relying on fermentation mechanisms, which forces the howler monkey to spend most of the day resting. These long pauses in the canopy aren't a sign of laziness, but a biological strategy to conserve energy in an environment where nutrient-rich food isn't always readily available. Howler monkey groups usually consist of 5 to 12 individuals organized in a stable social structure. In the dense forest and complex terrain, direct communication isn't always effective. Instead, sound becomes their central tool. Their deep roars, amplified by a specialized throat structure, can travel for several kilometers through the thick forest. These calls mark territory, maintain distance between groups, and coordinate social activities without the need for direct confrontation. This strategy is incredibly effective in areas where visibility is limited. Instead of wasting energy on fights, howler monkey groups use sound to negotiate their boundaries. This helps them make the best possible use of their territory. This is a key factor in forests with complex canopy structures, and where resources are spread out unevenly. Life high up in the forest canopy comes with many challenges. Strong winds, heavy rain, and shifting temperatures directly impact their movement and how they get to food. Unstable branches mean they have to plan their routes carefully and coordinate closely with one another. At the same time, spending their lives up in the canopy means they must always look out for threats from above, making collective vigilance absolutely essential. Even though they are spread across different areas, the three species of howler monkey play very similar roles in the life of the forest. By eating huge amounts of leaves and fruit, they directly influence plant regeneration and the structure of the canopy. Spending so much time in specific areas creates clear patterns, gradually shaping the biological landscape over time. In the GXB-Nature, the howler monkey is far more than just a tree-dwelling primate. They are the voice of the forest, a deep rhythm that helps organize territory and keep order in a dense ecosystem, where sound is often more important than sight. Acoustic studies show that the howler monkey's hyoid apparatus is one of the most specialized among all primates. This enlarged bone structure acts like a natural sounding board, allowing them to produce low-frequency sounds that travel far and cost much less energy than a physical fight. Evolutionarily speaking, the howler monkey's call isn't just to announce its presence. It's an adaptation that reduces the risk of injury, limits conflicts, and helps the group survive in a dense three-dimensional environment. Sound in this case becomes an extension of their very body. When you hear those deep calls echoing through the forest, do you ever wonder how much information can be shared without a single image? How many species even today depend more on sound than sight to survive? And if the forest loses its voice, what happens to the delicate balance we never even get to see? This primate relies almost completely on unbroken low-altitude forest patches, usually below 300 meters, where high humidity and dense trees provide shelter food and the natural hollows they need to breed. Weighing only about 600 grams, the golden lion tamarin has a small light body with long nimble limbs that let them move quickly along thin branches and vines. Their bright orange-yellow fur surrounds their head like a mane, making them stand out beautifully against the green backdrop of the forest. But that same trait makes them easy to spot, forcing them to rely on their quick reflexes and an incredibly sharp ability to navigate three-dimensional space. They are most active in the middle layer of the forest, at a height of 5 to 15 meters, where bugs are plentiful and small fruit trees thrive. Their varied diet includes insects, spiders, fruit nectar, and occasionally tiny vertebrates. One of their most classic behaviors is probing inside tree bark cracks and hollow branches. They use their long, nimble fingers to pry, turn, and snatch prey hidden deep inside rotting wood. It is a strategy that requires time, spatial memory, and coordination among group members. The golden lion tamarin is a highly social creature. They usually live in small, close-knit groups of 4 to 8 individuals with tight bonds and a clear division of roles. Working together to find food, stay alert, and raise their young is vital in a world where safe spaces are shrinking. We see this same social structure in the golden-headed lion tamarin, a closely related species living further north, which shows a shared way of adapting to the coastal rainforest. Breeding is slow and requires highly stable environmental conditions. Old trees with natural hollows are essential, serving as safe spots to sleep at night and raise their young. The scarcity of these hollows makes the species incredibly sensitive to even minor changes in the forest structure. In the past, habitat loss and wildlife trafficking pushed the golden lion tamarin population to dangerously low levels. At one point, the number of recorded wild individuals dropped to fewer than 300. Today, their survival reflects the fragile yet hopeful recovery of the GXB-Nature. Every surviving group of golden lion tamarins is a testament to the importance of unbroken forest patches, where the canopy structure, moisture, and biodiversity are still enough to sustain their complex survival strategies. Looking at the bigger picture of the GXB-Nature, this tiny primate represents the value of every remaining square meter of forest, where sheer adaptability is not enough to make up for habitat loss. As you leave the coastal forest patches and venture deeper into the interior of the GXB-Nature, the rhythm of forest life begins to shift. The sounds quiet down, and movement becomes much more scattered. Along the thick tree trunks and the lower canopies, another form of life emerges, almost completely detached from the hurried pace of the world around it. The three-toed sloth lives in the GXB-Nature as a living testament to a completely different survival strategy, slowing down to survive. In continuous rainforests, where the canopy is tightly knit and the spatial structure is stable, the three-toed sloth occupies one of the most specialized ecological niches in the Americas. Belonging to the genus Bradypus, this mammal is widely distributed from Central to South America, but it is always closely tied to wet tropical rainforests at low and medium altitudes, where the dense vegetation ensures a stable food source and secure grips, with a body mass ranging from 3.5 to 7 kilograms. The three-toed sloth has a compact body, but it is supported by long limbs and strong curved claws. 3 toes on their front and hind limbs allow them to hang on tightly for long periods without using much muscle power. Its entire body structure is optimized for gripping and hanging rather than fast movement. Every single move is slow and controlled, minimizing energy use in an environment where food is low in nutrients. Their diet consists almost entirely of leaves, especially those of the cecropia tree, a food source that is low in energy and hard to digest. To adapt, the 3-toed sloth has developed an incredibly slow and highly specialized digestive system. The process of breaking down a single meal can take weeks, all thanks to a complex gut microbiome. As a result, this species has one of the lowest metabolic rates among mammals, forcing them to spend 15 to 18 hours a day just resting. The coarse fur of the 3-toed sloth does more than just protect it. There are tiny micro cracks on the surface of its fur, creating the perfect conditions for algae fungi and other microorganisms to thrive. Oh, this layer of algae gives their fur a greenish tint, helping the sloth blend into the forest canopy and making it much harder to spot. At the same time, this microbiome also contributes to the forest's nutrient cycle, turning the sloth's body into a mobile ecosystem, directly linked to the biological dynamics of the GXB-Nature. The behavior of the 3-toed sloth is mostly solitary and entirely tree-dwelling. Coming down to the ground is rare, happening on average only once every 7 to 10 days when they need to defecate. This is by far the most dangerous moment in their life cycle. Leaving the canopy forces the sloth to carefully choose the spot and the timing, because once on the ground, it loses the biological advantage built over millions of years of evolution. The presence of the 3-toed sloth reflects the healthy, stable state of the forest. They only exist in areas with continuous canopy structures, high humidity, and minimal disturbance. When these conditions are disrupted, their slow-paced survival strategy stops working. That's why every single sloth in the GXB-Nature is a biological indicator of environmental quality and ecosystem integrity. In the GXB-Nature, the 3-toed sloth doesn't compete with speed or strength. It survives by simplifying everything: its movement, its energy, and even its very presence. It's a quiet strategy, but it can only succeed in a forest stable enough to let slowness become an advantage. As the light fades beneath the dense canopy, and humidity rises from the forest floor, heavy yet rhythmic movements begin to appear along natural paths. Amidst the darkness and the thick leaf litter, the South American tapir, Tapirus terrestris, moves silently toward the water, carrying an ecological role that far exceeds its massive size. The tapir is the largest land mammal in South America, with a body length that can exceed 2 meters and a weight ranging from 180 to over 300 kilograms. Its body is robust, with short but strong legs that allow it to move steadily across soft ground swamps and the rugged terrain of the rainforest. Its long, flexible snout is like a small trunk, acting as a multi-purpose tool that helps the tapir pluck leaves, pull down low branches, pick up fallen fruit, and sense the surrounding environment. Active mainly at dusk and during the night, the tapir avoids the hottest hours of the day, saving energy and limiting contact with humans. It uses fixed routes, carving out clear paths through the jungle that connect resting areas, feeding grounds, and water sources. These paths don't just serve the tapir, they also become transit corridors for many other animal species. The tapir's diet is incredibly diverse, including tender leaves, shoot soft twigs, and especially seasonal fruits. In a single night, an individual can consume dozens of kilograms of plant matter. Seeds pass through the tapir's large, slow digestive system, almost completely undamaged, only to be excreted far away from the parent tree, often accompanied by a nutrient-rich layer of feces. Thus, the tapir plays a crucial role in seed dispersal and forest regeneration, especially for tree species with large seeds that few other animals can process. Near the water, the tapir showcases another skill that makes it truly special. Despite its heavy body, this species is an expert swimmer. They often plunge into rivers, streams, and swamps to cool off escaped pesky insects and search for aquatic plants. Seeing a tapir wading diving or just poking its nose above the water's surface is a familiar sight in South American nature documentaries. Tapirs lead a highly solitary lifestyle. Adults rarely travel together except during the mating season or when a female is raising her calf. Their reproductive cycle is slow. The gestation period lasts more than 13 months, and they only give birth to one calf at a time. A young tapir has dark brown fur with white spots and stripes, which helps it blend perfectly into the dappled light of the jungle. It takes many months, sometimes more than a year, for the calf to be strong enough to keep up with its mother's pace. It's this slow reproductive rate that makes the tapir so vulnerable to forest loss hunting and habitat fragmentation. As forest patches shrink, their traditional paths are cut off, forcing the tapirs to cross open areas, which greatly increases their risk of conflict and death. In many regions, the disappearance of the tapir leads to a sharp decline in tree species that rely on them to disperse their seeds. However, in well-protected areas and where forest restoration projects are reconnecting habitats, the tapir has begun to make a comeback. Large footprints pressed into the mud, fresh droppings along the trails, and camera footage of tapirs swimming across rivers are all proof that the forest can still heal itself when given a chance. South American tapir doesn't hunt, nor does it rule by force or speed. Its true value lies in its resilience. Every slow step, every search for food in the dark helps sustain the structure and future of the forest. In this wild world, the tapir is a silent gardener, patiently sowing seeds of life it may never live to see fully grow. Moving away from the high canopies and descending into the lower layers of the GXB-Nature, the surroundings become denser, more humid, and far more complex. Here, light filters down through thick overlapping layers of leaves. The ground is thick with leaf litter. Exposed tree roots and fallen trunks form a natural labyrinth. In this ever-shifting environment, the ring-tailed coati emerges as a dynamic, curious, and highly adaptable creature, setting the rhythm of life on the forest floor, showing a rare level of social flexibility. The coati is a medium-sized mammal with a body length of 40 to 65 centimeters, not counting its long ringed tail, which is often longer than its entire body. They often hold this tail straight up when moving, using it as a visual signal to help group members stay in touch through the thick brush. With their slender bodies, strong legs and sharp claws, coatis can move easily on the ground, low tree trunks, and slanted branches. The coati's habitat ranges from dense tropical rainforests and seasonal woods to forest edges and river corridors. Their ability to thrive in so many different environments shows an incredible level of behavioral and physiological flexibility. While coatis spend most of their time active on the ground, they frequently climb trees to forage escape danger or reach seasonal resources. The coati's diet is highly opportunistic. Fruits, hard seeds, insects, spiders, larvae, small vertebrates, and even eggs are all on the menu. Their long, flexible snout allows them to flip leaf litter, dig into soft soil, and poke around rotting wood for hidden prey. This constant foraging churns up the topsoil, spreads organic matter, and helps speed up the forest's natural decomposition process. Social life is one of the coati's most fascinating traits. Adult females and youngsters usually band together in large packs of 10 to more than 30 individuals, traveling and foraging as a team. Staying together like this makes it easier to find food, lowers their risk of being hunted, and keeps the group secure in dense areas where visibility is poor. Adult males, on the other hand, are typically loners, only joining the packs during the breeding season. They communicate through a mix of body postures, tail movements, touch, and short sounds, perfect for a thick forest where loud noises easily fade away. coati bands move in a unique rhythm, making quick stops, sudden turns, and temporarily scattering before bundling back together, which takes incredible coordination and spatial awareness. The floor of the GXB-Nature presents plenty of challenges. Uneven terrain, exposed roots decaying wood, and constantly changing moisture levels. After a rain forced the coati to constantly adjust its footing and speed. Heavy rains reshape the ground, but they also bring new opportunities as insects and small critters are flushed out in the open. By eating fruits and traveling long distances every day, coatis help scatter seeds across different parts of the forest. Their mix of ground activity and climbing skills bridges the gap between ecological layers, from the leaf litter up to the lower canopies, keeping the forest's biological flow alive. In the GXB-Nature, the coati doesn't rule by size or strength. Their strength lies in their flexibility, social nature, and ability to seize every opportunity the environment offers. Through its constant movement, the coati helps keep the forest floor alive, where every turned leaf starts a new cycle of life. When the tapir's massive footprints fade near the water, the forest movement doesn't stop. Higher up in the middle layers of the canopy, where light filters through the leaves, a fast-paced, active rhythm of life takes over. Tiny bodies constantly changing direction, watching everything closely. They move through the branches. The capuchin monkey appears, bringing with it the sharp wit of a species that has learned to survive on its intelligence. The capuchin is one of the smartest primates in the Americas. An adult's body is about 35 to 45 centimeters long, not including the tail, and weighs an average of 2 to 5 kilograms. Its tail, almost as long as its body, helps it balance when navigating narrow branches. Their nimble hands and opposable thumbs allow them to grab, twist, and manipulate objects with precision. A rare trait in the wild. They are active mostly during the day. Capuchins spend most of their time on the move foraging for food and socializing. A group's home range can span anywhere from 80 to more than 300 hectares, depending on food availability and the forest's structure. They memorize this area in detail, using familiar paths that connect their resting spots, feeding grounds, and water sources. The capuchin's diet is incredibly diverse. Fruit makes up a large part of it, supplemented by hard seeds, insects, spiders, bird eggs, lizards, and small vertebrates. When faced with hard-to-reach food, capuchins use tools. Many populations have been observed using stones as hammers to crack open hard nuts, a behavior that requires precise strength, choosing the right materials, and the ability to repeat the action intentionally. These skills aren't instinctive. They are learned gradually through observation and practice. The social life of a capuchin is highly complex. Their groups usually consist of 10 to more than 30 individuals organized in a clear hierarchy. Adult males usually hold the dominant positions, while females form stable, lifelong social bonds. Group coordination is clear when they forage, keep watch, and protect their young. If a threat is spotted, warning signals spread quickly, allowing the whole group to react in time. Reproduction is slow. Gestation lasts about 160 days, and they usually give birth to just a single baby at a time. The infant clings to its mother's back for the first few months and relies on the group for a long time. They reach maturity after about 4 to 5 years. In the wild, capuchins can live from 20 to more than 25 years, a long lifespan for their body size. In forests that remain well connected, capuchins move constantly through the tree canopy and rarely descend to the ground. But where the forest is fragmented, they are forced to adapt, making use of forest edges and narrow corridors. This flexibility helps capuchins survive better than many other primates, but it also brings them into closer contact with humans and new dangers. Through quick leaps, split-second decisions, and a constant drive to learn, the capuchin holds its own in the forest. They don't dominate through brute force, but through memory, observation, and adaptability. In an ever-changing environment, that is their greatest advantage for long-term survival. As herds of peccaries rustle through the leaf litter, leaving behind quick sounds and a distinct scent, the forest isn't just listening. In the nearby darkness, another presence is watching the peccary. They move not in a straight line, but like a wave, cohesive and determined. They are a group of medium-sized hoofed animals with robust bodies, large heads, and thick necks. In this area, the common species have a body length of about 90 to 120 centimeters, weighing from 20 to more than 40 kilograms. Their strong jaws and sharp tusks allow them to chew through all kinds of tough food. Their coarse fur and highly developed scent glands create a unique signature smell, helping individuals stay in touch within the dense, low-visibility jungle. Active mainly during the day, the peccary travels in large herds. Herd sizes vary depending on the species and environmental conditions, often ranging from 10 to 30 individuals, though herds of over 50 have been recorded in some areas. This tight bond doesn't just make finding food a lot easier, it also acts as a built-in shield for the whole group. The moment danger looms, the entire herd can pivot on a dime, crying out warning calls and crowding the intruder with their sheer numbers. Peccaries aren't picky eaters. Their diet changes constantly with the seasons. They'll gobble up anything from fallen fruit and tough seeds to roots, tubers, mushrooms, insects, and even rotting carcasses. Armed with strong snouts, their constant rooting around stirs up the topsoil, clearing out little patches in the leaf litter. Over time, these cleared spots become prime seedbeds for various tree species, keeping the forest floor alive and healthy. These herds roam over massive territories, sometimes covering hundreds of hectares, depending on where the food is and how connected the forest remains. They travel along familiar trails passed down through generations, linking their sleeping spots, feeding grounds, and watering holes. This shared memory of the landscape helps the herd navigate through a complex and constantly shifting environment with ease. They can breed all year round, but births usually spike when food is plentiful. Pregnancy lasts anywhere from 140 to 160 days. Females typically give birth to just 1 or 2 babies at a time. The newborns are on their feet and following the herd shortly after birth, quickly catching up to the group's pace. This strength in numbers gives them a much better shot at surviving than most solitary animals. The peccary is a crucial link in the local food chain. It serves as a vital food source for both large and medium-sized wildcats. Wherever you find a healthy peccary population, predators are never far behind, weaving a tight connection between the forest floor and the canopy above. If the peccary disappears, this delicate balance falls apart in no time. In forests cut up by human development, these herds face far greater dangers. Moving together across wide open spaces makes them easy targets, raising the risk of run-ins with humans and poaching. But in well-protected sanctuaries and areas where wildlife corridors are being restored, the herds are finally making a comeback. Freshly turned earth reopened trails and trail camera footage of herds moving in broad daylight all show that the forest floor is slowly finding its natural rhythm again. Peccaries aren't known for being exceptionally fast or agile. They survive purely on herd discipline and their knack for making the most of whatever they can find. Every step they take together isn't just a search for food. It's the very heartbeat that keeps the forest floor alive, driven by their relentless collective motion. As the peccary herds shuffle through the dry leaves, they leave behind a flurry of rustling sounds and a pungent, unmistakable scent. The forest isn't the only thing listening in the nearby shadows. Another presence is watching patiently, leaving absolutely no trace of its presence. A jaguar steps into its domain with the absolute confidence of an apex predator. The jaguar reigns as the largest big cat in the Americas. Fully grown adults can measure over 2 meters long, tail included, and weigh anywhere from 60 to over 100 kilograms. And some massive individuals can grow even larger than that. With a muscular build, broad shoulders, and an incredibly powerful bite, they can easily take down large prey that other predators wouldn't dare mess with. The rosette patterns on their coat aren't just for show. They break up the cat's silhouette perfectly in the dappled light of the jungle. The Cerrado isn't a thick, dense jungle like the Amazon, so the jaguar adapts its strategy to fit the terrain. Instead of giving chase in the open, it uses riverbanks, marshes, and strips of trees to creep up on its prey unseen. In these areas, thick brush hides its movements, while the water washes away all tracks and sounds. Jaguars aren't endurance hunters. They rely on sheer patience, waiting for the perfect moment when the distance, the angle, and the element of surprise align flawlessly. The capybara, with its predictable routines and reliance on familiar watering holes, is one of the primary targets for this riverbank hunter. But the jaguar doesn't limit its options. From large rodents, deer, and armadillos to fish and massive reptiles, its diet shows the flexibility of an apex predator living in a highly seasonal world. Water is absolutely no obstacle for this beast.
Moving the fresh kill through the water is arduous, and
On the contrary, the jaguar is a superb swimmer, always ready to plunge into the river to chase or ambush prey straight from the water. They are most active at dusk and through the night as the temperature drops and the Cerrado falls quiet. During these hours, every single step is calculated with extreme precision. Each cat defends a massive territory, marking it with scent and claw scrapes to keep direct clashes with other jaguars to a minimum. Territorial overlaps are rare and usually short-lived. The jaguar's breeding cycle is slow and quiet. To give birth, the female chooses dense, secluded areas, far from any disturbance. Without even needing to show its face very often, the jaguar keeps things in order just through the mere threat of its presence. In the Cerrado, the jaguar isn't just a predator, it's the last line of defense between ecological stability and total chaos. With this species present, the system functions smoothly. Without them, relationships finely tuned over thousands of years begin to fracture. It acts as an ecological guardian of South America's rainforest and savanna ecosystems, including the Cerrado. The jaguar depends on it to hunt, move around, and maintain its territory. This fragmentation isolates key populations. When populations of capybaras, deer, and small-hoofed animals decline because of hunting and habitat loss, the jaguar is forced to expand its hunting range. This makes them venture closer to human settlements, more often increasing conflicts and putting them at greater risk of being killed in retaliation. According to current conservation assessments, the jaguar is classified as near threatened. This reflects the fact that while the species isn't on the brink of extinction yet, it is edging closer to critical thresholds if the trends of habitat loss, forest fires, and prey decline continue. From an ecological perspective, the decline of the jaguar means far more than just losing a big cat. Many studies indicate that when jaguar populations drop below a certain threshold, their role as an ecological regulator weakens. This leads to an uncontrolled surge in prey species changes in vegetation structure and the degradation of riverbank ecosystems. Therefore, protecting the jaguar isn't just about saving an iconic South American species. It's about safeguarding the core ecological structure and function of the cerrado, where they play a vital role in maintaining long-term biological stability. As the terrain slopes downward and water begins to dominate the landscape, changes dramatically. Waterways widen. Soft mud is exposed to the rhythm of the tides, and salt-tolerant vegetation forms a whole other world. On that boundary between land and water, a bright red color appears easily recognizable, even from a distance. The scarlet ibis enters the scene, a vivid sign of wetlands teeming with life. This bird is closely tied to mangroves, estuaries, and coastal marshes, where the continuous ebb and flow of the tide brings an abundance of food. Its body measures from 55 to over 60 centimeters long, with a slender neck and legs. This allows them to navigate efficiently through shallow waters and unstable mud. Their brilliant red plumage stands out in stark contrast to their surroundings, while their dark wingtips become clearly visible in flight. Their long, thin, downward curved bill is their primary tool for finding food. They use it to probe the soft mud searching for crustaceans, insects, mollusks, and small fish hidden beneath the surface. It's the pigments found in their prey, especially carotenoids, that give this species its signature red color, reflecting a direct link between their diet and appearance. Scarlet ibises live in large flocks, moving and foraging together. When flying, the flocks often form wide extended lines, which saves energy and keeps the group together. The rhythm of life for this species is closely tied to the water level. As the tide goes out, the mudflats become ideal feeding grounds. When the water rises, they retreat to safer roosting and nesting areas. Moving away from the salty waters, as the ground gradually rises and the vegetation grows more diverse, the air begins to fill with swift, constant movement. Among the blooming canopies and natural clearings, tiny but energetic birds dominate the air. Sarus tanagers and chimroy hummingbirds become the main characters of this forest layer. The Saira, measuring just 10 centimeters, appears between the mid-canopy and the forest edge. Their compact body, short beak, and agile movement allow them to exploit small fruits and insects living among the tender leaves. They often move in mixed flocks alongside other fruit-eating birds, gliding continuously through the canopies to find scattered food sources. Each stop lasts only a few seconds, just enough to grab a fruit or a prey before moving on. The hummingbird operates on another level, with an incredibly small body, powered by strong, well-developed chest muscles. They have the ability to hover in midair in front of flowers, a rare skill in the avian world. Their wings beat at a high frequency, allowing them to reach nectar hidden deep within tubular flowers, where few other species can feed. Their short, repetitive flight paths between familiar flower patches are fiercely defended, securing a steady source of energy. While the syrup plays a key role in dispersing seeds for tree species with small fruits, the hummingbird connects plant populations through the process of pollination. With each visit to a flower, pollen sticks to their beak and head, which is then carried to other flowers over longer distances. These small movements keep the plant life diverse and preserve the forest's power to regenerate. From the muddy riverbanks to the bright blooming canopies high above, these birds expand the living space both horizontally and vertically, linking environments that seem completely cut off from each other. Their presence brings a steady rhythm to the forest, where every single flutter of wings helps keep the flow of life moving forward. But the natural rhythm of the GXB-Nature no longer operates in isolation. Over the last few decades, rapid shifts in the global climate have started to leave a clear mark. Average temperatures have climbed. Heavy rains have become more unpredictable, and long dry spells are striking places that used to be wet all year round. This imbalance directly disrupts the structure of the forest breeding cycles and the survival of many highly specialized species. Wildfires, once a rarity in these damp coastal forests, now break out much more often during years of extreme drought. Flames tear quickly through fragmented patches of forest, where howling winds and bone-dry vegetation create the perfect storm for fires to spiral out of control. Each fire doesn't just burn down trees, it tears apart the different layers of the forest, destroying vital shelters, food sources, and pathways that wildlife depend on to move around. At the same time, past logging has carved massive scars into the landscape. More than 80% of the GXB-Nature's original area has been cleared for farming, cities, and infrastructure. The remaining patches of forest are often isolated, leaving animal populations small, vulnerable to decline, and struggling to bounce back. Many species of primates, herbivores, and forest birds have vanished entirely from vast areas in just a few generations. But the story of this forest isn't just one of loss. In recent decades, a massive conservation effort has been put into action. Hundreds of forest restoration projects are linking fragmented patches of habitat back together through wildlife corridors. Native trees are being replanted. Protected areas are expanding, and wildlife monitoring has become incredibly precise thanks to modern technology. And some results are already starting to show. In well-restored areas, fruit-eating birds are returning carrying seeds with them and driving the natural regeneration process. Bands of coatis that depend on a healthy, stable forest floor are starting to reappear in places where they had once vanished. Howler monkeys have been recorded recolonizing connected forest patches after years of silence in certain protected areas. The golden lion tamarin has expanded its territory thanks to long-term reintroduction programs and habitat management. This comeback isn't sudden or massive. It's slow, fragile, and depends entirely on the quality of the restored environment. But every new footprint in the leaf litter, every call echoing after years of silence, is proof that this ecosystem can still heal itself if we just give it a chance. The GXB-Nature was once written off as an ecosystem too damaged to ever recover, but reality is proving otherwise. When the forest is reconnected, when fires are controlled, when exploitation is curbed and species are protected, life begins to creep back in subtle yet persistent ways. This isn't just a battle to save a forest. It's an effort to preserve one of the planet's most vital strongholds of biodiversity, where every returning species helps restore a rhythm that was once broken from the high canopies, where the deep call of the howler monkey echoes through the valley down to the soft mud, where the wings of scarlet birds are reflected on the water's surface. The GXB-Nature reveals itself as a living system, driven by its own unique rhythm. Here, not a single movement is wasted. Every step, every call, and every search for food is deeply connected to the survival of other living things. High above, troops of howler monkeys dominate the canopy, with their sounds shaping their territory, without ever needing to make eye contact. In narrower patches of forest, the golden lion tamarin moves quickly and precisely through the thin branches, making use of every remaining tree hollow to survive. At a much slower pace, the three-toed sloth hangs motionless in the foliage for hours, turning patience into a biological advantage. Down on the forest floor, bands of coatis dig, searching and moving without rest, keeping the lower layers of the forest alive, while in the air, birds connect water trees and flowers with short but constant flight paths, keeping the flow of life moving from the coastal mud to the sun-drenched canopies. All these different pieces coexist in one of the most life-rich forests on Earth. The GXB-Nature originally stretched across more than 1,300,000 square kilometers along the eastern coast of South America. Today, only about 12 to 15% of that original area remains relatively intact. Yet within that tiny portion, there are still over 20,000 plant species, hundreds of mammal species, nearly 1,000 bird species, and countless other organisms, many of which can be found here and nowhere else on Earth. Every remaining patch of forest is a sanctuary for life. They hold water for coastal rivers, slow down, floods anchor the soil on steep hillsides, and lock away massive amounts of carbon in tree trunks, roots, and the forest floor. The survival of this forest directly shapes the regional climate and impacts the lives of tens of millions of people living all around it. The GXB-Nature doesn't boast about its strength. It thrives on pure balance. When a single species disappears, the whole rhythm shifts. When those bonds break, the consequences ripple far beyond the borders of the forest. This is an ancient ecosystem rich in life, yet incredibly fragile, where every loss leaves a lasting mark. Our journey through the GXB-Nature ends here, as the woods slowly drift back into their quiet silence. But the natural world never stops moving. There are still deep oceans out there that we've barely even seen. Frozen lands where life is pushed to its absolute limit, and vast savannas where every day is a test of survival. Every region has its own story, written by the climate, the landscape, and the unique creatures that live there. As one journey ends, others begin. And we'll keep going to bring those stories to you. If this journey gave you a moment to reflect, stay with us here at GXB-Nature by subscribing, liking this video, and hitting the notification bell. Every bit of companionship helps us keep telling these stories of the wild in a slower, more authentic way. Goodbye for now, and we hope to see you in our upcoming videos.